Alright, how do I frame this? Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I am currently in Boston, so the room layout is a little different, and I feel like Kelly stamps with like the all-white room and the plant and the very minimal background, but she makes it look good in her videos, and I feel like mine looks like I'm at my boyfriend's apartment in Boston, and as much as I love coming here and love their place, some things are just not as video-esque, picturesque, you know? Today it is the gloomiest of all gloomy days. Oh, I have something in my eye. It is the gloomiest of all gloomy days outside. It is raining, it is gray, there is no sun at all. I thought today would be better because yesterday was a little cloudy, but today it is even gloomier, so it makes me really lazy, makes me not want to do anything, but I am going to sit down and film a Q&A with you. So, I got a lot of questions like this one, but it was, do you ever see yourself moving to Boston? I get asked this a lot because, as you guys know, my boyfriend lives here. He is in Boston, so we've been long distance our entire relationship. We started out in Oklahoma City. Well, he was in Oklahoma City and I was in North Carolina, and now we both moved to the Northeast, and now I moved back home. So we've been long distance the entire time, but it hasn't been bad. I get questions a lot about long distance, but for us, it's literally all we've known. And so a lot of people ask why I didn't move to Boston after leaving New York, and also a lot of people ask if I'm planning to move to Boston. And the answer to that is no. I'm not saying never, but I don't see Boston as a future home of mine. I like Boston, but I don't see myself living here. I just feel like it's not the place that I want to be right now. And I also think that if I were to move like right after New York and I were to come here to Boston, and just because he was here, my life would pretty much just be his life. Like, I personally have a few friends here, but I feel like I would be with him all the time, and it would be with his friends and his life and his stuff, and I want to have my own stuff like that. Like, I want to be brought to Boston because I really love Boston. So I'm not to say that I would never do that, because I know in order for a relationship to work out, you eventually have to move to the same city. So I completely know that. I'm not saying that I would never move here, but right now I don't see the rush in moving here, especially because he personally is not tied to Boston. He doesn't see himself here forever. He really loves New York as well. He even really loves Charlotte. So I mean, in the future, there's always a possibility of me going here, him coming to where I am, and of course that will have to happen one day, but right now I don't want to move here. It's not the place for me at the moment or at this time in my life. And also, again, like I said, I just kind of want to have my own stuff, and I want to have my own life, and I want to have my own friends, and I don't know. I'm a very independent person, so moving to a city for just one person is really scary. Someone asked me, worst investment that I've made. This isn't really an investment because I just recently started getting into stocks. So I have Robinhood. If you guys want to check it out and get a free stock, I'll have it linked down below. The worst investment that I've made, not to do with like stocks or anything like that, would probably be designer items. This is just because designer items are so expensive. I have a Gucci purse that I spent, I think, like $2,600 on, which is just so stupid. I literally spent $2,600 on this Gucci purse, and as it's a beautiful bag, I just now think like $2,600 is so much money, and it's just like a lot of money that I so could have saved. And I'm not to say that all designer items are bad, but I really don't like when people are like, oh well, it's an investment, because investments grow over time, and unless this thing is like super vintage in the future, which a lot of these things might not even be, you're not going to get your money back. You can still sell it. Like, I could still sell it, but I'd get like $1,000 something for it, not the $2,600 or more that I paid. So that, I guess, is something that I think is dumb that I bought. And a lot of people say designer stuff is an investment, but I don't really see how it's an investment if it's not going to grow in value. So yeah, I don't recommend buying like designer purses, especially if you're never really going to wear them or if they're just like really trendy. I have other designer items that I actually think are way more worth it because I wear them every day, but this was just one that I really loved, and it was super trendy, and I literally haven't worn it. Like, I've worn it like 3 times. So not worth $2,600. So thoughts on moving back to New York? I get asked this a lot too. So right now I'm planning on moving back in the new year. I don't know when, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that's January, I don't know if that's April, I don't know if that's March, but but I would like to move back in the new year, so around like January through March would be ideal. But I do want New York to be a little more normal because I actually have really enjoyed living at home. I'm not gonna lie, I really do like it, and it's nice saving money and it's nice not paying rent. And so if I'm gonna move back to New York, I really want it to be like the city, like kind of be more normal again, or at least that I know that I'm going to be there and not have to like go back home if another like wave happens or something like that. So my goal is to just reassess in the new year. I definitely want to move back to New York, but I'm not in as big of a rush as I once thought I would be. Except it's crazy because I actually miss it like a person. Like, I look back on all these memories and I'm getting all of these like 1 year ago today memories, and they were all in the city because I was living there, and it makes me tear up a lot and it makes me really sad, and I literally miss her. Like, it's like I miss her. Like, I miss New York City as a person, not as a place, and it's something that I'm like longing to go back, and I miss her as if like she's changed, but like I'm hoping she comes back to normal. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, I can cry thinking about it because it feels like she is a person. And I know a lot of people are like, well, New York is still awesome and it's still nice in the pandemic, but realistically I would have gone home for the holidays and I wouldn't have had to go back and forth. So I'm just gonna reassess in the new year and enjoy saving my money while I can. Someone asked, has COVID made long distance harder or easier? And even though we are further distance away, I actually think it's made it easier because he's working remotely now, so we're both working remotely, whereas before it was just me working remotely. And so it's actually made it easier because now when we do see each other, we can see each other for like 2 weeks at a time, a month at a time, 10 days at a time. So that's been really nice that we are able to spend so much more time together than we ever would have before. Someone asked tips on transitioning to live with parents. This is something that I do want to make a whole video on once it's been a long time, but for me the biggest tip was like actually making my space my own and kind of having that separation. So really having my parents understand that I am not coming back to living like I was in high school, you know, like in high school they would be able to tell me everything I needed to do or when I was going out and what I was doing. And while I do still tell them that out of respect, because my parents are not the type of parents that are like, well, you're an adult now, you can do whatever you want. They're very much like our house, our rules, but they're not that strict. So I don't know if anyone else's are like that. And I respect that. They're letting me live rent-free in a house with them, and they're buying me meals and they're providing for me. Like, I am not gonna be like, I am an adult, I can do whatever I want, but it's having that separation of like, okay, I'm working and from this hour to this hour I can't like be at your, you know, like do whatever you want, or I'm gonna go and hang out with friends and like I'll be back. I don't have like a curfew or anything. It's just one of those things where it's like kind of having the understanding that you are no longer living like you were in high school while still respecting them. And for me, the easiest way to have done that is to just have that separation, but be present when you are with them. Like, don't be locked in your room all day. Like, actually spend time with your parents. Separation and boundaries, and just like having that conversation that you are an adult living with them is so important, I think. How do you organize your week like a content creator? So I have Google Calendar, which is my lifesaver, and then I also have an Excel sheet that I make as a content calendar where it's all my social medias in one platform, because I don't always want to put that on Google Calendar because it can get really crowded and really messy. So I actually have a Google Excel sheet that is downloadable if you guys join my Patreon. So be sure to join my Patreon. It's $6 a month to get that, and you can download it. And if you even just want to get it, you can pay the $6 and then delete it if you want. Of course, I would rather have you stay, but if you wanted, you could do that as well. What are your tips for buying an investment property? So if you guys didn't know, I am looking to buy an investment property in Charlotte. My tips are, give me all the tips you have, because I actually don't have tips right now. Right now I'm just looking on redfin.com, realtor.com, all of these websites to see what is going up and trying to see them and see like what I can afford, and setting a bunch of filters. And like, because I'm from Charlotte, I know which areas are up and coming, which ones are growing, actually driving by in person and seeing what it looks like, to see what the neighborhood looks like, to see what's around there, what are the neighbors' properties like, things like that. So for me, that's what I've been doing so far. But other than that, I am welcoming all tips because I don't really have any, since I haven't actually bought an investment property yet. But right now I am in the process of getting approved for a loan. So that's really exciting, and I will definitely be doing a video once I get all of that stuff done. How to start saving a full year's salary like I did. And before I answer that question, I actually did want to thank my sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is an amazing website building app. If you guys don't know what it is by now, you guys are living under a rock. Just kidding. But Squarespace is an amazing website developing app that helps you build your website code free. You do not need to know how to code. I don't know how to code, even though I'm trying to learn. I love that Squarespace does it for me. So Squarespace is amazing because it does it all code free. It develops these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful websites with the most amazing templates for you to choose from. Everything is so customizable. So literally, if you want to customize anything on Squarespace, it can be done, and it's so easy to customize, and they make it so intuitive, and it's so aesthetic, and it's honestly just the most amazing website builder, like I've said a million times. I've used ones for stores, I've used ones for blogs, and trust me, Squarespace tops them all. It's just so easy to build something that looks like you hired a developer to do, when really it's like, no, I just did it on Squarespace. And if you guys want 10% off of your first purchase at Squarespace, or you guys just want a free trial, you guys can go to squarespace.com/NatalieBarbu or use Natalie Barbu at checkout. Okay, so back to the question about how I saved a whole salary. Pretty much how I saved a salary was honestly because I worked 2 jobs, which YouTube was one job and then my actual work was the other job. So I feel like I'm not the best at answering this question. But I did also save a lot of money in the sense of like I tried to get rent that was a little cheaper. I was only paying $735 when I lived in Charlotte for a 2-bed, 2-bath, and I had a roommate. So my share was only $735 a month. So it was really inexpensive for like what I was paying in New York. So for me, I tried getting a cheaper apartment. I tried living with a roommate. I didn't want to overspend on a bunch of little expenses, so I really tried cutting back where I could. I didn't buy the most expensive furniture. I tried selling everything I could, you know, so I did save a lot of money, but really the reason why I was able to save a full year's salary was because I did work 2 jobs. YouTube at that time was a full-time job for me. I was making just as much money, Actually, I was making more money on YouTube than I was at Accenture, so I was able to save my Accenture salary. And I feel like the biggest thing is whenever you start making a lot of money, a lot of people think you can start spending more. Invest that other salary of yours, because that's how people end up going into debt. That's how people end up getting in trouble, is when lifestyle creep comes in and you think that you can spend way more because you're making way more. But that's not forever, and it's also not smart. Like, there's so many things that we spend money on that we're like, why did we spend money on that? Like, that's so stupid. Like that designer bag that I was telling you, that invested could be so much money, but I didn't think of it that way. So just honestly, don't let yourself spend as much as you are making is the biggest way. But the way I was able to save a whole salary was because I was working 2 jobs. So many questions are like, why don't you live with your boyfriend? Why are you guys long distance? Why didn't you move there? It's like, oh guys. One of the questions is how to not financially compare yourselves to other people, which I think is such a big one, because so many people I feel like are sharing their incomes now, which I think is great. I think it's actually really great to be transparent and to talk about money, because I feel like especially women don't talk about money, and that's honestly how you get ripped off or how you get taken advantage of. So I think it's important to talk about money, and I really do believe that, and I try doing that on my channel. However, I understand that it also brings that like double-edged sword where people are then comparing themselves financially. They're getting sad that they're not making as much. They feel inadequate because there's a 25-year-old that is making 6 figures and you're not, you know? And so I think that it's easy to compare and easy to be like, oh, well, I'm not doing enough or I'm not good enough. But I think that's so not the case. I think the best way to not compare yourself financially is to realize that the people who are, let's say, making a lot of money at this age, at whatever age you are, that doesn't mean that you will not one day do that, and that doesn't mean that you are worse off than them. There's a lot of jobs that are easier to make money, or people get really lucky. For example, I'm just gonna put it out there, what I do on YouTube is not rocket science. It is not the hardest job in the world. It is not like, oh, you have to have the most skill to do this and it's only the top that get to do this. No. Yes, did I work hard? Absolutely. I've done this since I was 15 years old. I could have given up a really long time ago. So I'm not trying to say that I didn't work hard, and I did it for free for a lot of years. But also, was there some luck involved? Was there other things involved that, you know, was there privilege involved? Yes, like, of course there was. Not everyone's life course is going to be the exact same, but I think one thing to note is, like, if you do see someone that maybe has a high up position, that is buying a house at a certain age, is doing whatever, and you're comparing yourself to them, I always view this, and I always say this in my videos, is instead of taking that and using it to think that you're not enough or that you're inadequate or like to compare yourself, use that as fuel to be like, wow, there's people my age that are able to do that. That means I'm able to do that. And use that to kind of push yourself to like inspire to do that one day. So I think if you start changing it as like, oh wow, that's possible for someone to do, that means it's possible for me to do. It's more shifting your mindset in the sense of like, man, I wish I could do that, to, oh my god, that's amazing, I can do that because other people are doing it. So that's one way to shift your mindset, but it's also to note, like, don't ever feel inadequate or it's something that you did or something like that, because that's just not the case. There's so many factors that go into money and how people make money and how people have gained money. I think that it's always important to note and just to use that comparison not to feel inadequate, but instead to kind of motivate you and make you realize that you actually can and are capable. It's just the age also, I think in our 20s, it's very like, we are constantly comparing ourselves, and social media definitely doesn't help, but I hope that that kind of helped you and answered that question. Okay, that was all the questions that I was going to answer today, but thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys liked it, and I hope that it just let you get to know me a little bit more. And if you guys have any other questions, definitely leave them down below. I feel like I talked really slowly in this video because I'm just like relaxing because it's raining and it's so gloomy outside. So if you had to watch this in 2x speed, I'm sorry, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!